What happens when a single AI model makes the wrong call on a high-stakes business decision and no one catches it until it's too late? That's the core problem this multi-LLM decision pipeline solves, building a reliable AI automation blueprint where no single model failure can derail your workflow. Instead of trusting one model, you route the same input through multiple independent LLMs, aggregate their outputs using consensus logic, and only trigger a downstream action when the models agree. This is AI consensus workflow automation, and it's how production AI workflow reliability is actually achieved. The architecture works like this. An incoming payload, say a lead score request or a content classification job, enters N8N as a webhook trigger. From that single entry point, the multi-model workflow fans out in parallel to 3 HTTP request nodes, each calling a different LLM API: OpenAI's GPT-4o, Anthropic's Messages API, and Google's Gemini API. Each model receives the same structured prompt and returns a structured JSON response, a label, a confidence score, and a short rationale. Those 3 responses converge into a single aggregation node, where a JavaScript code node runs majority vote or confidence-weighted logic to produce a final decision. If 2 or more models agree, the consensus output routes downstream to your CRM, your Slack alert, or your Airtable record, whatever action your workflow requires. Here's how to build it step by step. Start in N8N by creating a new workflow with a webhook trigger node. This is your entry point for any incoming business event. Add 3 parallel HTTP request nodes branching from the trigger. Configure the first to call the OpenAI chat completions endpoint at api.openai.com, the second to call Anthropic's Messages API at anthropic.com, and the third to call Google's Gemini API at generativlanguage.googleapis.com. In each HTTP node, set the authorization header using your respective API keys stored as N8N credentials and pass a consistent system prompt that instructs the model to return only valid JSON with 3 fields: decision, confidence, and reasoning. Add a merge node set to wait for all mode. This holds execution until all 3 ATI responses have returned before passing data forward. Connect the merge node into a JavaScript code node where you parse each model's structured LLM output, extract the decision field, and run a simple majority vote function. If at least 2 of 3 models return the same label, that label becomes the consensus output. For confidence-weighted aggregation, multiply each model's confidence score by a preset weight, for example 0.4 for GPT-4o, 0.35 for Claude, and 0.25 for Gemini, and sum the weighted scores per label to find the winner. Add an if node after the code node. If a consensus was reached, route to your action node, an Airtable record update, a HubSpot property right, or a Slack notification via their respective N8N nodes. If no consensus was reached, route to a secondary path that logs the disagreement to a Google Sheets node, capturing the raw outputs from all 3 models for human review. Now, the edge cases you need to handle. LLM API's timeout. Set a 15-second timeout on each HTTP request node and add an error branch that substitutes a null response so the aggregation node always receives 3 inputs even if one fails. Model output formatting breaks structured parsing more often than you'd expect. Validate each JSON response in the code node with a try-catch block and flag malformed outputs before they corrupt your aggregation logic. To extend this blueprint, swap the majority vote logic for a sequential escalation pattern. Only call Claude or Gemini if GPT-4o returns a confidence score below a defined threshold, reducing API costs on easy decisions. You can also add a Langsmith or Helicone integration to trace every model call, giving you a full audit log of every decision this system has ever made, critical for compliance-sensitive workflows. All the tools and API documentation referenced in this video are linked below. If this breakdown was useful, hit subscribe. New automation blueprints drop every week.